Oh, hello. Can I please speak to Hillary Clinton? I'm calling from the office of Julian Assange. This is an emergency.
Dragged by police out of the embassy where he's lived for nearly 7 years, Julian Assange's face shows the passage of time.
Sigue enterándose de lo que la gente
malcriado.
Estamos entristecidos, pero
Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, has been arrested in London.
WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has been freed from Belmarsh prison in the UK.
Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks and one of the world's most controversial criminal, is finally set free after years of engaging in legal back and forth with the United States. For those who don't know, WikiLeaks is a non-profit organization that posts news leaks, classified media, and confidential information. Although this organization was founded by Julian, it is funded by donations and media partnerships. It has published classified documents and other media provided by anonymous sources. WikiLeaks has released document caches in media that exposed serious violations of human rights and civil liberties by various governments, but in 2010, WikiLeaks posted something that got Julian Assange into major trouble. WikiLeaks posted us military logs from the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, as well as footage of an airstrike in Baghdad. This does not sit well with the US as a post that gives the impression that the US military ended the lives of many civilians in the Afghanistan war. After the leak, the world turned against the US, and 9 years later, during the reign of Donald Trump, the United States decided to take the case up against the Australian reporter. In April 2019, on the request of the US government, British police detained Assange at the embassy on April 11, 2019. He was being prosecuted in the US, at that time concerning the 2010 leak. While the US government's attempt to extradite Assange was being challenged in British courts, he was detained in HM Prison Belmarsh in London from April 2019 to June 2024. In April, President Biden stated that he was considering an Australian request for Assange to be allowed to return to his home country, which demanded that the US end the prosecution of him. The prosecution officially came to an end when Assange entered a guilty plea to a single charge of breaking American espionage laws. With his guilty plea, Assange resolved legal issues with the US authority. In 2006, Julian Assange founded WikiLeaks and he had a plan. He planned to get leaks, confidential information, and classified media. Basically, he wanted to get secret information from anonymous sources and make them public. Since it was founded in 2006, WikiLeaks has published about 10 million documents on different topics. Some of its major leaks are the Iraq war logs in 2010, which provided previously unreported details about civilian deaths, friendly fire casualties, US air raids, Al-Qaeda's role in the country, and nations providing support to Afghan leaders and the Taliban. There's also a 2007 US helicopter strike video in Baghdad that resulted in casualties, including Reuters journalists. Publishing hundreds of thousands of US diplomatic cables in 2010, known as the Cablegate scandal, which provided analysis and insights from more than 270 US embassies and consulates, and the DNC email leak in 2016, which revealed hacked emails from John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. Shortly before the US presidential election, Assange was on the top of his game as a journalist until things started falling apart in 2012. In 2012, Swedish authorities accused Julian Assange of raping a woman and molesting another. They issued an arrest warrant for him, but fortunately for him, the then Ecuador president, Rafael Correa, was a fan of his work, and because of that was sympathetic enough to grant him political asylum at the Ecuadorian embassy in London. Because of this, Assange remained confined to the small embassy room for nearly 7 years, which had a bed, sun lamp, computer, kitchen, shower, and treadmill. He occasionally received visits from celebrities and journalists, and even conducted press briefings from the embassy balcony. But Rafael Correa left office, and let's just say the new president, Lenin Moreno, didn't care about the journalist. As a matter of fact, things got bad as tensions arose between Assange and Ecuador's government over his hygiene and behavior. In 2018, Ecuador cut off his internet access and later revoked his asylum due to interference in other countries' affairs and violations of asylum conditions. Ecuador even accused Assange of leaking information about President Lenin Moreno's personal life. With Assange no longer under Ecuador's protection, the United Kingdom's police could finally detain him, and they did that instantaneously. He was taken to a local police station and then to court. Assange was found guilty of breaching his bail conditions and sentenced to 50 weeks in prison. He remained in custody as the US began extradition proceedings against him. The US charges against Assange relate to the publication of US military logs from Afghanistan and Iraq, as well as diplomatic cables which were provided by Chelsea Manning. If extradited and convicted, he could face up to 175 years in prison. Over the next 4 years, Julian Assange is caught in a legal back and forth with the UK. The UK High Court already agreed in 2019 that Assange will be extradited to the US, where he will face full punishment. Assange's legal team argued against this ruling tirelessly. Assange's lawyers argue that the prosecution is politically motivated state retaliation for exposing this government crimes like torture and war crimes. They also argue that given the nature of the case, Assange will not be given a chance at a fair trial in the US courts. Also, they bring up the concern that if the reporter is taken to the United States to be punished, ordinary journalistic practices like publishing classified information exposing government wrongdoing, which is in the public interest, will take a downturn. Lastly, given that the journalist is an Australian and not an American, there's no assurance that he would be able to rely on First Amendment protection in the US courts. In 2022, that decision to take the journalist to the US was reversed by a UK judge. The judge is concerned that Assange would take his own life if he is taken to the United States prison. But in June 2022, after the legal back and forth, with UK courts previously ruling that Assange's extradition would not violate his human rights or lead to an unfair trial in the US, UK Home Secretary Priti Patel approved the extradition of Julian Assange to the United States. As expected, the defendants appealed, and in December 2022, while that appeal process was still ongoing, Assange was released from Belmarsh Prison in London on bail. Now this came as a huge shock because the UK courts fear that if he is granted bail, will run away from the US or find another country to take him in like Ecuador did years back, and denied him bail. The defendants were able to take this legal win by providing information, including alleged CIA plots to assassinate or spy on him, that convinced the court to grant his release. This latest legal victory provided Assange with a final chance to stop his extradition within the UK court system. Press freedom groups celebrated the decision, arguing it could open a new path to justice for Assange and set an important precedent for protecting journalists' rights. On the occasion of its release on 25 June 2024, Assange, wearing jeans and a blue shirt, was seen signing a document before boarding a private jet in a video that WikiLeaks posted on X. Supporters gather in front of the US Consulate General in Sydney, sharing food and popping champagne. Stella Assange, Assange's wife, said in her own message posted on social media that Julian is free. Words cannot express our immense gratitude to you, yes you, who have all mobilized for years and years to make this come true. Thank you. And that's where we stop for today. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Have an amazing day.